ready? We're about ready to start, so if you can find a seat, get going. I'm George Lahr. I'm one of the state coordinators for Missouri, and I'm a leader for the Columbia chapter. A little closer? Okay, great. I've been interested about energy ever since I was in about the 7th grade. I remember a 7th grade class where they talked about, energy was motion and heat and everything, and it intrigued me. But the first time that I really kind of got connected to the power industry, my first job out of college, I went to journalism school. I got a job working for the rural electric co-ops in Missouri. And I went down, I was taking some photos. They were doing some underground power line research at the time. And these guys that are usually linemen were down there digging this hole and finding this wire that was all rusted and stuff and causing problems. And I was standing there taking pictures, and I said, well, it's too bad that's not working, because it'd be nice to get rid of all these ugly utility poles. And it was like dead silence. And I kind of looked up, and finally one of these old guys says, I've never seen an ugly utility pole. So I worked for them about 8 years, and during that time, I really grew an appreciation for what it takes to get the power safe, reliable, and affordable for everybody. And that's something, regardless of whether it's co-ops or private utilities or city utilities, those are the three things that seem like always come up when they talk about energy. So and as we're thinking about climate change and trying to reduce emissions, I don't see any scenario where we can reduce emissions that doesn't call for more electrification rather than less. And to have more electrification and still have it be clean energy is a real challenge. So what I'm hopeful we can do today is, like I grew that appreciation over 8 years of working for the co-ops, I hope these guys right here can give us a little bit of an appreciation for the challenges they face in their work, and what they can do to help move us to clean energy. So I'm looking real forward to them. I'm just going to give a real quick introduction here. Get my thumb in the right place. Well, I don't have memorized where it's from, but John Bethel is with the Energy, which is a large private utility in this area, and Mark Casey, we have some roots together. He's done some rural electric co-op work, and the general manager of Wichita Electric Cooperative right now, and John Lester, and John,
Clarksville Light and Water.
Yeah, Clarksville Light and Water, right. And then we have Frank Kelly, who's got his roots in the Renewable Energy Association here in Arkansas. And then Malik Safir, I just messed up your name, I think. But he's going to give us a little bit of perspective from organizing for social justice related to utility rates and this discussion we have to have about electricity in our communities. So we're going to take people one by one, and they're going to give a short presentation. We've got a timekeeper that's going to put an orange card up, and you have 10 minutes, and that's been going for 10 minutes, and you've got about 2 more minutes to wrap things up. And we're going to have a couple of people collecting cards with questions. And so after this session, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to organize those questions, then we're going to come back for a question and answer session. Those rules sound good? So John, if you want to get started, and you can get a little more in-depth explanation of where you are.
Sure.
I think you don't have a slideshow, correct?
I do not have a slideshow. I just got paper, so I'll talk from my papers. I'm John Bethel. I'm with Energy Arkansas, and we're the largest electric utility in Arkansas. We serve in about 63 of 75 counties, and Energy Corporation serves in Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, and we provide lots of power to a region that uses a lot of power. And I'm really excited to be here. Appreciate the invitation. And I've been in the energy industry for a long time. I worked for the Public Service Commission for almost 30 years, and then have been with Energy for about 8 months, I think. So I'm relatively new. I changed teams. And, but I'm enjoying it, and the good thing about it is my role with the Public Service Commission was to ensure that Arkansans had safe and reliable service at a reasonable price. And at Entergy, we're interested in that as well. And Arkansas is very fortunate nationally and regionally that we have about the third lowest electric rates in the country, which is helpful to our state's economic development. It's helpful. We, unfortunately, in Arkansas have a large number of lower income customers as well, and that, fortunately, we have relatively low electric rates, which is better than not. And we'd like to take advantage of those rates for a whole lot of reasons, and it's we don't want to do things that disturb those. And I want to talk a little bit. I know the subject matter is looking at renewable resources in the region and things that we're doing in the renewable resource space. And renewable resources are a part of our regular resource planning process. Every 3 years we go through developing an integrated resource plan to look at what our needs are, what the resources we have to meet those needs are, and then how we're going to meet our needs in the future, both in terms of economics, of environmental impact, and sustainability. Our company is very interested in remaining sustainable and becoming more sustainable. We have one of the lowest emitting fleets of generating resources in the nation. I think Entergy has the cleanest resource nationally as a corporation. And that's largely driven by the fact that we have a lot of investment in nuclear generation resources in Arkansas. We have a nuclear generating facility that accounts for about 60% of the energy that we provide to our customers. We also have coal-fired facilities, hydroelectric, and natural gas-fired facilities here in Arkansas. And we're continuing to look at opportunities to add renewables in our portfolio. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've done and what we're going to do over the next couple of minutes. We have 2 solar facilities that have been approved by the Arkansas Public Service Commission. One is in service now. It's called the Stuttgart Solar Facility. It's in East Arkansas, East Central Arkansas, between the towns of Stuttgart and Elmira. It's 81 megawatts, and that facility is owned by NextEra. And we have a purchase power agreement to buy all the output from that facility and to serve our customers. And it covers about 500 acres in the area. And we use that power currently to meet our customers' needs. We have a second facility that's located in Chico County, which is in southeast Arkansas near the Louisiana and Mississippi border. And that facility will begin construction later this year. It'll be 100 megawatts, and it's also owned by NextEra, and we'll have an agreement to purchase all the output from that facility, and we'll use that to serve our customers' needs. And that facility covers about 850 acres. And currently, we have proposals. We issued a request for proposals last year, and we are currently going through those proposals and hope to have a recommendation for the Arkansas Public Service Commission for another solar facility later this year. In that request, we asked for facilities in the size range of 100 to 200 megawatts. And we're in the process of reviewing the results of that request for proposals, and hope to very soon be able to have made a selection and then to present that to the commission for its approval. And then about 3 weeks ago, we issued another request for proposals, and in that request, we're asking for facilities in the size range of 200 megawatts. And that request is outstanding now. We're seeking input and hope to get those responses. I think those are due later this spring, and then we'll begin the process of evaluating those and hope to be able to select resources out of that mix as well. So we're active in the space of acquiring solar facilities to serve our customers as part of our portfolio. And currently, our portfolio is about, as I mentioned, about 60% of the energy comes from nuclear facilities, about 20% comes from coal, and about 20% comes from natural gas and hydroelectric facilities that we operate, and then solar is becoming a part of our mix. We have, as a part of implementing our new renewable resources, we're offering, we have it proposed to the Public Service Commission for approval, is a solar energy purchase option. It's called Rider CPO, and it will allow customers to buy blocks of output from our solar facilities through a contract for service, and that service offering will allow customers to buy, residential customers can buy in blocks of 5 kilowatts and up to 5 kilowatts in 1 kilowatt blocks. And then small general service customers can buy up to 50 kilowatts in 10 kilowatt blocks. And large general service customers can buy up to 1,000 kilowatts in 200 kilowatt blocks. And the way the tariff works is the customer will pay a monthly rate to acquire a monthly rate per kilowatt hour, and it's the proposed rate that's before the commission is about 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour, and that will give them the output associated with that block. It'll be it won't be delivered to their home; it'll be sold into the market, and the customer will then offset the cost of that facility with the market revenues from that facility. So we'll put that into the MISO market, and the customer will get their share of the market-based revenue. Then they'll have the effect of both the generation and the market revenue to give them an investment that is comparable to having made the investment themselves. And it will enable us to provide our customers with a dedicated solar resource to meet their needs and help meet the needs of some of our customers that would like to do that and might not want to build their own facility. It's an option that's going to be available, and it's up to 50% of the output or the capacity from currently the Stuttgart solar facility. When the Chico facility comes online, it'll be added to the mix as well, and the rate will be reformulated to capture both the cost of the two facilities. Right now, it only reflects the cost of the Stuttgart facility. Let's see, what else was I going to tell you about? In Arkansas, our other utilities also use renewable energy. One of my friends, Rob Ratley, who some of you from the local area know, Oklahoma Gas and Electric, asked me to send you his greetings. He wasn't able to be here today, but he did ask. I point out that, and it is our utilities on the western side of Arkansas are able to participate in the Southwest Power Pool and are able to bring wind resources from west of here and can economically deliver those as part of their portfolios. And all of our utilities, Southwestern Electric Power, Oklahoma Gas and Electric, and Empire District and the cooperatives all have either purchase power agreements and or owned facilities that are wind generators that are located outside of Arkansas, and they deliver the power from those facilities into Arkansas. And so we do power significant parts of those utilities portfolios with wind. And currently it doesn't make good economic sense to build large-scale wind facilities in Arkansas when they can be built more economically and operate more efficiently in other parts of the country where the wind blows a lot more frequently and a lot larger capacity. And you can look at the wind maps and see where that is. But in Arkansas, we do have some opportunities for solar renewables to be built on site in Arkansas and are economically being done today. And one other thing, I'd mentioned that we do have two coal-fired power plants that operate here and provide part of our generation mix. We have a settlement agreement and some litigation with our air permits, and we have, as a part of the settlement agreement of that litigation, we have set a date to cease burning coal at the White Bluff unit in 2028. So a little bit less than 10 years from now, that plant will cease burning coal at that location. And then at our Independence Power Plant, we're going to cease burning coal by 2030. And so 12 years. And so we're on a path to where we have a date certain where we're going to cease to burn coal at those two facilities. And then we'll also cease operating one of our oldest and least efficient natural gas facilities, the Lake Catherine unit, in 2027. And good news on the Arkansas front from a generation mix standpoint is that even though we operate those plants and have for a long time, and those have been good, reliable, and economic sources of energy, the lower cost of natural gas over the last several years has caused those plants to operate less than 24/7. For a long time, those plants operated 24/7, 365 days a year because they were the most economic baseload resource next to our nuclear facility. That's no longer the case. With gas prices, those plants generally will operate in a load following role. And good news is that the Clean Power Plan didn't come to pass, but Arkansas is in compliance with the emission standards that were set forth in the Clean Power Plan by the benefit of natural gas prices in Arkansas displacing the operation of our coal units. And so even though that plan did not come to pass, the CO2 emissions from Arkansas already meet and exceed the standards that were set in the Clean Power Plan, and we're on a path to continue to reduce those over time. So that's a real positive thing for Arkansas. I'll discontinue. I've been carded, so I'm going to let the next guy talk. I think Mark is your next guy. And Mark is high tech.
Slides.
What was the name again of that? Oh, it's the White Glove and Independence?
Yes.
You can either do that, you can say next slide, whatever your preference.
First of all, thank you for inviting me here today. I'm Mark Casey. I'm the General Manager and CEO for Ouachita Electric Co-op. We're headquartered in Camden, Arkansas. We serve 5 counties, parts of 5 counties. We don't serve all of them. We have 7,000 members and about 9,400 meters. And I just wanted to share with you some of the programs we're working on. What you see before you is a graph of a typical load curve for a utility in Arkansas. Actually, this is the cumulative total of all the electric co-ops in the state back in 2015. And that's a pretty standard load curve. The load comes on in the morning, as the sun comes up, it starts to go up, kind of levels out during the late afternoon and then goes back down. And that's been a standard load curve for many utilities, particularly in the Southwest for a long time. It's been about it's been about 5 years ago, we started working with one of our industrial customers to put in the first large-scale solar facility in Arkansas. It's a 12 megawatt facility. It provides service to the Aerojet Rocketdyne facility. That's one of our customers. They happen to be our largest customer and largest employer in the area. And they came to us and said they wanted to work on a renewable project. And being our largest customer, I said, how can I help you do that? It's really important in our part of the state to keep jobs. And it took about 2 years to get everything permitted. The facility they built is actually behind their meter with a power purchase agreement. Their excess power right now is sold to Arkansas Electric Cooperative. It's all interconnected through our system. One of the reasons that we wanted to work with them, and at the time our single largest customer, and on sunny days they are 100% solar power. And this is a large manufacturing facility in Camden. Since we signed those initial contracts in 2015, they've added over 400 employees. It has created jobs. They have a 25-year commitment. And by 2020, they'll be using 100% of that solar. And they work around the clock. But what that's done is have a dramatic impact. Well, first of all, this is the load curve of their solar farm. On a peak day, this happened to be the peak day in 2016. And if you look at that load shape, I call that a perfect match. And solar works at the time we need power most. In the hottest part of the summer, those are always peak days. When it's 105 degrees, it's not raining. It's not dense cloud. And there are some benefits to providing peak power. And utilities are able to capture that benefit No one else can. There's two parts of your power. There's energy and there's capacity. Well, when they operate at peak, it frees up capacity for us. And that freed up capacity has value to us. In fact, to Washita Electric, it has a value of about just over $10 per kW of peak reduction. And with the installation of the Aerojet solar field, we since built a 1 megawatt facility of our own. We have a docket that well, it hadn't been issued a docket number yet. We're trying to convert that to a community solar project. We just got a docket issued about 2 weeks ago for SAU Tech for them to build a 1 megawatt solar to serve their own campus. But the result of all that is our current load curve at peak. And it's not a real smooth line, kind of looks a little bit jagged. But if you look at the totals, we've dropped about 25% of our peak load in the last 3 years. And that's had a big impact on us in reducing our total cost to all of our members. It lowers our power cost. And if you look across our system, the top blue line, that was our total capacity in 2015. And the green line was 2016. The yellow line was 2018, and the orange line was 2017, and the yellow line was 2018. And you see the yellow line came up some this year from previous years. Unbelievably, in South Arkansas, we are now experiencing growth. Something we've not seen in a while, and we're able to bring growth back. And part of this is the added jobs, the economic activity, other projects that are going on. So we have found solar to be very beneficial to us as a utility. I'm also wanting to mention, I spoke about a week and a half ago, that the Senate Bill 145 is, in fact, I think it's going to be voted on Tuesday at the Senate. And that is a bill that's going to greatly expand solar in Arkansas. I was speaking in favor of the bill as presented by the Arkansas Advanced Energy Association. I encourage everyone to call their local senators. I want to make sure that there's not language in there that limits the use of solar. We want net metering to receive 100% of the benefit. There's been some proposals kicked around that would limit the amount of net metering. As Washita Electric, we do not favor two-channel billing. We'd rather settle up at the end of a month. As long as you don't over-generate during a month's period, you get 100% of the value. And we think that you get the full benefit of that energy. We actually get the full benefit of that demand. And so it makes a great partnership. And our members can own solar on their own. And lowering our members' costs has been a big objective. And going with solar, well, first of all, this was our office. We put a 93 kW solar array on our office back in 2016. The blue lines were our bills in 2016. The other lines have been the years since then. Dramatic reduction in our bills. We believe in what we talk about. We put our own office. Since 2016, 92% of all the electricity we use comes from our solar array. And so we encourage our customers to do that too. We see the benefit. We're not going to do something that we don't want our own members to do. And we think it works for everybody. And in fact, we've added residential solar to the projects that we will finance on customers' electric bill. We have an energy efficiency program that we started called Help Pave. And actually before that, we called it HELP, but and that was a loan program where we would loan money for energy efficiency improvements. People could buy new air conditioning, insulation, but if it was a loan, we had to have collateral. You had to have good credit. You had to own the property. And so most of our members were left out. We came back in 2016 and we asked the Public Service Commission for a tariff that would allow us to finance energy efficiency improvements on members' bills. The commission approved it. But the tariff, what that does is makes it, number one, it's not a loan. It's an investment we make in our own members' property. 90% of the time, there's no upfront payment for new heating and air, insulation, weather sealing. There's no income requirement. There's no credit check. We've been able to go in and remodel all the apartments in our service territory with new high-efficient heat pumps. We add insulation and air sealing as best we can. Air conditioning is very important in our area. But the other thing this does is we're averaging almost 2 kW per house reduction in our peak demand. And again, the peak demand pays us $10 a kW per month. So we do not charge for any of the audits when we go out and evaluate someone's house. We come back with some recommendations. If they go through with the recommendations, we will finance that on the electric bill. But we don't charge. If they don't go through, there's no charge for that. That's just a service. We're just trying to encourage people to be more efficient. I got to tell everybody too, there's two things. There's conservation and there's efficiency. When it comes to air conditioning, I'm all about efficiency. The efficiency is getting better with less load. Conservation is raising that thermostat. I can always raise the thermostat, but I want to be comfortable. And I think in South Arkansas in the summertime, it's pretty much unanimous. But this year, the ACEEE honored the Ouachita Electric Cooperative as one of the 53 exemplary programs in the country. By far, we were the smallest, but they like the programs that we're doing because they're so member friendly. And we don't advertise it as a program for low income, but it works for low income. And about 60% of our members fall in the low income or elderly category. And low income and fixed income on top of it. So any way we can do things to make them more comfortable in their house and lower their bills. Our program requires us, we'll take 80% of the savings to recover our investment. The other 20% goes to the members so that they see savings immediately. If we're doing this in the summer, they see it on the very next bill. This was a study on the first year reductions. We're averaging 23% lower kilowatt hour usage per house. This also makes the house better for when they do add solar to the house, because if you make the house efficient, then it requires fewer panels. And this year, we're also adding solar to that financing mechanism. Just to show everybody, we bought our first electric car this year. I get to drive it. That's also the first car charger in South Arkansas. We've installed another one at a new motel going in. We see part of this as just encouraging better electrification. And I'm short on time. Just Wednesday, we met with USDA and we've been awarded $19.8 million to fund fiber to the home projects in our service territory. We've started already with about 600 homes. We expect to expand to about 10,000 homes in the area. So I'll be around later for questions, but thank you for letting me be here today.
Write it on the index card. If you need an index card, raise your hand. Once you have your question written down, if you could hold your card up, someone will come around and collect it.
Ready to go? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Lester. I'm the General Manager of Clarksville Light and Water. And what I was going to do is tell you a little bit about Clarksville Light and Water. In the big scheme of things, this is the big utility. This is the medium-sized utility. I'm the little teeny tiny utility. Clarksville Light and Water is owned by the city of Clarksville, Arkansas. For those of you who are in Missouri and Kansas, by the way, I've worked in Missouri and Kansas before. So I used to be the city administrator in Herman, Missouri, and I was a city manager in Chanute, Kansas before I came over here. So I'm a reformed city manager. It is about 45 to an hour east on I-40 right on the interstate. Okay. It's a town of about 10,000. The utilities started in 1913. Of course, we're municipally owned, so therefore we're accountable to the community. I see people at Walmart. I've got my door open. They can come into the door. Very close to our customers. In the state of Arkansas, there's only 14 municipally owned electric utilities. In some of the other states, there are many more. So we provide electric, water, wastewater, and have provision of fiber network. And I'm going to touch on that at the very end too. I am fortunate, since I am the Reform City Manager, I don't report directly to elected officials because I've got a separate utility board, which is great. That gives me the chance and us the chance to act autonomously, and it really helps us run it like the business that it is. However, the City Council still has regulatory oversight, so they'll make determinations on rates. If we have to do a financing, it would be an obligation of the city, so they have to agree to that. Plus, they appoint my board members. But the bottom line is, we focus on Main Street, Clarksville, Arkansas, and not Wall Street. Okay, so a very different perspective. A little bit about our power supply resources. We're normally 51 to 53 megawatt peak in the summertime. We do have a pretty decent industrial load. We have a large Tyson facility, and Haynes brand is a large manufacturer. We have 19.1 megawatts of the Southwestern Power Administration, which is hydropower. We also have a contract with Independence County, Arkansas. We're on the White River. There are 3 small run-of-the-river units. We're the only taker of that power. I was having lunch with somebody from Batesville, Arkansas today when we were talking about it. So, and then recently we've added 5.3 megawatts of solar with a local developer out of Arkansas called Stephen Hill Solar, who used to be a former lieutenant governor. Okay? The balance of our supply is fulfilled by the Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority, which is an entity that all the municipals in the state of Oklahoma banded together to create a power agency where they all, the idea is they can more economically buy power together. So what we like about them is their needs from a municipal perspective line up with ours very much. There is no power agency in Arkansas since there's only 14 of us. So that supply mix, if you really think about it, we've got hydro at the top, we've got hydro there, we've got solar, and then the mix at OMPA is 18% coal, 53% natural gas, 19% renewables, and it is wind, landfill gas, and hydro. Okay? So there's a significant amount of their portfolio that we buy that is renewable also. So this was our mix last fiscal year. Our fiscal year starts October 1. So if you see here, yeah, there you go. The green, OMPA's renewables, that's 12% of our mix. The next one up, that's Southwestern Power Administration, that's 14%. Scenic Hill Solar, 4%, with plans to add more. Independence County, about 19. OMPA market purchases, so it's whatever the value of that market and that energy is at that particular time. And then coal is only 12% of our overall mix, and then natural gas, 35%. So as a municipal, there are times, in the generation world, I really like it when it's hot and sunny, but I also like it when it's stormy, because of all the hydropower that we get. So there are times when we have wet seasons that we get a lot of really affordable energy, like a penny a kilowatt out of our hydro projects. So as we started looking at solar, we started looking in 2016 because I noticed some of the Missouri municipals that I worked for were putting projects in, and I knew, hey, those guys are cheap. The economics must work or they wouldn't do it, okay? So we started looking at it, and the bottom line was, as we got into it further, the economics had to work, because when you live and work in the community and they own you, the last thing they want to hear is they're going to put something in and they're going to raise their rates. So the economics had to work. I needed flexibility because I had all those other power supply contracts. So OMPA actually had to release me from my quasi full requirements contract to allow me to, in this case, add 7 megawatts of capacity. And there were operational concerns about our local grid and what have you. But the other thing is, long term, we wanted some ownership of this. So we've structured this deal. It's a 28-year PPA, but we have the right to purchase at the end of 7 years when the tax credits expire. So the project, it's visible from Interstate 40. We strategically selected property because we wanted to have marketing exposure on the interstate. We wanted to position the little community as progressive. 20,000 solar modules, 11 million kilowatts a year, 305 million kilowatts over a 30 years. It's on an axis tracker system, so when we're talking about the peak shaving, The axis tracker system follows the sun from the east to the west, so you get that load curve that's much better, okay? And in this particular design, see how in the middle there's a small solar plant, there's solar panel, there's a battery on the backside, so it's called non-parasitic, so it uses its own solar power to turn the axis arms. So the idea is to take the least amount off of our grid that we possibly can. Okay? It was about $11 million project, which is huge for a little town of Clarksville, Arkansas. And it is large enough to satisfy what would be 25% of our residential load, or it can fulfill the second largest industrial customer. It meets all their demand. There's kind of a view down at the bottom of it. 6.7 megawatts DC, 5.3 AC. It's the third largest until you add your next one. In Arkansas, it's by far the largest municipal application. Our developer is Scenic Hill. The way the arrangement worked is, as a municipal, I don't have an income tax liability, okay? And one of the financial incentives is tax credits. Well, so what you do is you do a purchase power agreement with the developer. They monetize the tax credits, okay? In this case, we have two layers of tax credits, the ICT tax credit and new market tax credit, which is marketed towards economically challenged communities, okay? I bought the property since I'm tax exempt from a property point of view, so we've all monetized as best we can the project. I'll purchase all the power out of it for 28 years, but I've negotiated that purchase price at the end of 7 years. So the environmental impact, 215 metric tons of carbon emissions reduced, equivalent to 516 million fewer passenger miles, eliminating the burning of 229 million pounds of coal, equal to planting 5.5 million trees. And when I do talk to STEM students, I tell them if instead of building the next 5 megawatt plant, they can come plant 5.5 million trees. That'd be fine with me too. So here's some pictures of the construction. Believe it or not, we started construction on October the 2nd, 2017. It was commercially viable on that 42 acres 2 days before Christmas. Yeah. Less than 90 days. Wow. So this kind of shows you the load curve change between the axis tracker system versus the fixed tilt. And what we were after is we were after that demand reduction at the end of the day. We do have other potential projects, since I have another 2 megawatts that I can do with OMPA, allowing me to do it. We're looking at our local recreation center, making a carport with putting solar on the top of it. We're also looking at doing something similar at a parking lot at University of the Ozarks, and what we're looking at doing is distributing it around the community so it's closer to the individual loads. We're looking at putting some more out at our operations center. We also have a commerce park. There's an area to the southeast of our commerce park that's not as developable for commercial business. So I'm kind of holding on to that as a possible economic development tool. And I would have the ability, because of the relationship that I have with OMPA, the Oklahoma entity, that I could do an arrangement with a commercial industrial customer and give them a 100% sustainable energy portfolio. I don't think there's any municipality in Arkansas, probably the southeast, that could do that. So pretty unique for a little town. Some of the other things we're working on, a lot of things, demand side management, peak shaving, smart grid, smart things. Those are things that we also have on the horizon. One thing that's going to allow us to do it is on June 1 of this year, we're going to start a fiber to the home project as well. So beyond the fiber to the home, just providing internet, there's so many things that you can do to help your customers on demand side. Smart thermostats, a lot of different things that could potentially be done. I see a point in time where solar is efficient enough and cost effective enough that our customers can put them on their facilities. And I have a two-way communication tool. I see my business becoming a two-way relationship instead of a one-way relationship, where I buy it from them and resell it to the others who can't afford solar on the house. So I see that fiber network as a mechanism to have those communications and have the tool. So a lot of what we're doing is focused on differentiating the community, setting it apart, and economic development. We're hurting for jobs the way most rural communities are. Any questions? Whoop. Questions later. So thank you very much.
And remember to be giving your cards to the people collecting cards throughout. Wave your hand back in the back there, picking up the cards, and make sure you leave those after the break for sure.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Frank Kelly, Chairman of the Arkansas Renewable Energy Association and the developer of the Bearskin Solar Center in Scott, Arkansas. I want to get started with a very quick history of renewable energy policy efforts that we've undertaken both at the state capitol and the Public Service Commission, pointing out that in 2001 is when we got the net metering laws passed here. And by 2007, there were less than 50 net metering systems in the state. So we came back in 2009 and said, let's try and fix that and ramp it up. So we had House Bill 1851 that failed in the Insurance and Commerce Committee. Then we go to 2010, the governor was quoted as his biggest disappointment in the 2009 session was that the renewable energy feed-in tariff did not pass. So he had us design a pilot program called the Renewable Technology Rebate Program. There were over 250 systems added as net metering facilities in 19 months. 2011, we come back, as you know, right now, every 2 years, the legislature meets in a general session. So we brought the Clean Energy Act, Clean Local Energy Accessible Now, CLEAN. It failed in the Insurance and Commerce Committee. 2013, 2 years later, we bring the Distributed Generation Act, fails in Joint Energy Committee. 2013, net metering was improved slightly. 2013, the PSC opens docket addressing impediments to net metering. They removed the mutual indemnification clause for entities with sovereign immunity, and they created meter aggregation, added that to the net metering laws. Meter aggregation, how many of you ever heard of that phrase before? And so what meter aggregation means is that you can site your solar array within the service territory of your electricity provider, unless you're in a muni, and set a meter that measures energy production, and at the end of the billing period, that meter's production is used against the consumption of your meter at your house or business. That rule is what created the Bearskin Solar Center, meter aggregation. It's a well-kept secret, but it's also something we should be looking more at. 2015, we came back again. HB 1885, the Arkansas Distributed Generation Act, fails in Joint Energy Committee. So 9, 11, 13, and 15, we couldn't get a single bill out of a committee to advance Arkansas's renewable energy policy. 2015, another act. Here's House Bill 1633 becomes Act 1088, allowing a utility to enter into a power purchase agreement and receive additional sum if PPA is not with an affiliate of the utility. It does not apply to electric cooperative or electric utility customers. 2015 again, House Bill 1004 becoming Act 827, net metering improved by allowing indefinite carryover of unused kilowatt hour generation with the option to cash out at avoided cost rate after a 24-month period. Act 827 also increased the size of limits for residential and commercial installations to the size necessary to create 100% of highest monthly usage. The Act also directed the PSC to determine if the cost of net metering policy outweigh the policy's electrical system benefits, public benefits, and environmental benefits. Language allowing utilities to charge net metering customers extra fees if costs outweigh benefits has been in ARETA since passage in 2001. 2016, PSC opened docket 16027R to satisfy the requirements of 827. Open docket 16028U without a direct requirement to investigate policies related to renewable distributed generation. The first ruling in the docket was that eliminate a little bit of doubt. Doubt is probably the
the worst thing we have to deal with in the generation areas, the merchants of doubt. So they removed a little bit of doubt, saying if you install a solar or net metering facility before the new rules are finalized, you're grandfathered in under the existing rules for 20 years. You need to know that. It's important. 2019, here we are today. It was mentioned earlier, Senate Bill 145 introduced to allow third-party ownership and to increase the size of commercial solar arrays from 300 to 1 kilowatt, 300 kilowatts to 1 megawatt. We still have the 30% federal tax credits going to 26% in 2021 or 20, and then it'll be 22% in 2021. It'll be gone after that. A recent improvement on, we've always had a depreciation expense. If you're a business, it was 5 years accelerated. Now it's 1 year's accelerated. It's always been 85% because you get a 30% tax credit. They're not going to let you depreciate 100% of the installed cost. Global subsidies. International Monetary Fund estimates $5.3 trillion a year to the fossil fuel industries. That's $10 million a minute. This is what we're trying to replace. Everybody, I think, is in agreement that we need to replace outdated, inefficient generation technologies. And if Entergy's agreed and got approval to shut down White Bluff, Independence, and Lake Catherine early, I would submit if they could do it earlier than they have to, that would really send a good message. Solar. You can look at all the available resources. These are renewable. These are finite. This is what's available, currently harvestable by solar, tides, geothermal, hydro, biomass, ocean thermal energy conversion, wind, natural gas, all these being finite resources. There's a clear winner. There's plenty of sun to go around. I took this from Mother Jones and said the United States, including Alaska, is 3.797 million square miles. It would take us 8,100 square miles to make all of our electricity with solar. This is probably an interesting chart because the mainstream information agencies have been predicting, here we are going back to 2002, 4, 5, 6, 8. This was their projection on solar growth. And these were the actual, this is the actual growth curve on solar. So they're dismissing the reality despite all the evidence. 25% of global corporate debt, or $3.4 trillion, is linked to utility and auto industry bonds that rely on fossil fuel activities. Everybody's heard of batteries. Well, there's Bloomberg story from a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Batteries are going to be playing a much bigger role in our future. We have all the technologies to solve all the challenges facing humanity. Jobs. This chart is from way back. Renewable Energy Policy Project, Georgia Pacific, European Wind Energy Association, California Public Interest Research Group, and Bureau of Labor Statistics. There are thousands of more jobs in solar and wind than there are in natural gas, coal, and biomass combined. China, 10 nuclear plants worth of solar in 3 months in 2018. They have a lot of people in China. They need a lot of jobs in China. They're installing solar faster than any country in the world. We've got political climate here where we're bashing China. If it wasn't for China, solar wouldn't be at the low price that it is today. The sooner, the better. Our goal would be to eliminate the greatest threat to humankind's existence. Now we need to regenerate our world and our communities. I bring up this slide and this next quote. We need to combust. We need to stop combustion and we need to start composting. This is all about composting. We can take our waste stream and redeploy it to regenerate barren lands. And this is the slide I always end with. And in the middle here you have solar and wind. And I didn't take 10 minutes, so we have a quick break and we'll take questions later.
Wow.
It's a lot.
I've been asked to respond to the need for renewable energy from the standpoint of social justice, what I would call environmental justice. The environmental justice movement was a movement that began out of the need of people who were poor and people of color throughout the world. We see this in our everyday reality dealing with climate justice, who are the bearers of the negative consequences of being codependent on fossil fuel. So whenever there's a flood or a tornado or a hurricane or a fire or some form of a cutoff of supply lines to trade or certain infrastructure being built to protect from food scarcity or water scarcity, the poor and the people of color communities are the ones that are most impacted. Anybody disagree with that? So our challenge as people who are poor and people who are of color throughout the world is to galvanize, mobilize, and come together to respond, to tell those who are the policymakers, the corporations, those who are the entrepreneurs and small businesses, that we need your help. Because we know that this problem is not something that we created. It was a problem that we co-created. And what do I mean by that? Every fossil fuel industry has at its disposal the laborer and the consumer. The laborer co-creates the facility by helping the facility, one, be built, and then also the one that is staffed to do the job that the industry is designed for it to do to produce the product. The consumer co-creates by being the one who needs the product in order to sustain their particular lifestyle or their survival. So we know that this is not all one person's problem or one sector's problem. This is all of our problem. And we realize that. But we're coming together because we're saying that we want to play our role. And our role is to say, we have to pay attention to when the earth suffers, poor people suffer. When the earth suffers, people of color suffer because people of color are normally classified as poor throughout the world. So we want to make a response by saying that before you give attention to what change should look like, ask the people who are mostly affected by the change. And so we're coming to say to utility companies and to the private sector industry, as well as to state and governmental agencies, that what we need is help. And that help is basically coming in the form of, we need to own the resources that we consume. We need to co-own the resources that we consume. And the reason for that is, if we own it or if we co-own it, then we're at the table when decisions are being made about who profits or how those resources are used or distributed in such a way that impact us negatively and positively. So our response is, if we don't own it, we can't control it. If we don't co-own it, we can't control it. Then we're all left vulnerable to becoming slaves to whatever industry that owns it or co-owns it. So it's common sense to us. Give us our rights to make decisions about what we use and what we produce so that we can become a part of being a part of the solution to help end this problem. So that's my initial response to all this. It's nice that we have had people throughout history as poor people and people of color to make decisions on our behalf. They've done a job that was most manageable for them given their need to protect their bottom line and their profits over the people. But now we're in an age where the profits should not now continue to be the standard for what change looks like. The people now have to make the choice. And the people are the ones that are going to be the ones that have to deal with the future consequences if we continue to have a world where a few people control the destiny of a majority of the people. So that's the poor people's response, that's the people of color response to this. And I hope that we can begin to look forward to a future where people who are the most vulnerable begin to now work together with policymakers, work together with corporations, work together with small businesses and entrepreneurs to begin to find strategic and innovative ways to co-own or either to own the way in which they create and consume renewable energies going forward. Thank you.
So we're ready for a short break, right? Okay.
Back here at 2:45, like in